heal as a team, we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen, believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face. Now I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're going to see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's a team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Ideas are bulletproof.
Unfortunately, the soldiers we send to go fight for those ideas are not. And that's what today is about. It's about remembering those men and women. It's about remembering every veteran. Not just the ones that get the glorious deaths, as they call them. And that the media and these politicians used as a backdrop like they do with 9/11. All veterans deserve a hug and a thank you, but not just on Veterans Day. They deserve it 365. I'm not saying veterans are special or better than anybody else. We should all treat each other good. What I'm saying is one fake patriotism-filled day a year where everybody says, "Oh, thank you for your service." Don't thank me. You know what? I can't stand that crap. Over the years, I've gained a disdain for fake patriotism. So, knock it off. You want to be a real patriot? You really want to support the troops? Make sure we don't get screwed when we come back and we need our medical benefits. Make sure they don't allow these young kids to become homeless or go help one if they are homeless. Over 1/3 of the homeless people on the streets are veterans. It's disgusting. I will not celebrate this day. I will be serious. I will bring real issues to light. And I might even be real angry. But there will be no celebration. I refuse to allow somebody to come blow smoke up my rear end and say, "Oh, thank you for your service." Screw off. Don't thank me. You want to show real thanks? Do something the other 364 days of the year for veterans. Don't wrap yourself in some BS holiday like everything else and make yourself feel good for a few hours because you pretended to give a crap for one day of the year. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Today, as you probably have guessed, is November 11th. It is Veterans Day 2011. And even though I am normally somewhat in a chipper mood, even when I'm talking about things that bother me, today I'm in a very bad mood. I do not like Veterans Day. It has been, the original meaning of Veterans Day has been perverted by the military-industrial complex into using it as a recruitment tool. And it's disgusting. Or corporations use it for sales, and it's disgusting. Or people wrap themselves in the flag and pretend to be patriots for a day. It's disgusting. So I'm not in a good mood today. And I'm not going to be a dick to, on air to any of the listeners or anything, but you guys are going to have to probably tolerate with my tood for the next 2 hours. I don't like what's going on. And this day means a lot to me, as it does to any other veteran. Okay? And a lot of vets will have the same feelings I will. Maybe they won't be so vocal about it, but they have it in the back of their heads. And you're going to get a chance to talk to at least 2 veterans today. And I'm going to get their serious opinions on things and how they really feel. And I respect both these guys' opinions, not because they're both radio show hosts or because they both talk about truth. But I respect their opinions because they're brothers in a different family that, I hate to say this, but it's the truth, civilians who have not served don't understand. And we, even if we don't know a veteran, that veteran is still a family member. So to see one getting mistreated or to see remains and stuff getting mistreated, which we're going to get into today, that hurts all of us and that angers all of us. So you're going to get some real deal stuff today, okay? Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry if there's a bit of a dark overtone to it. I'm just really pissed. And I want to welcome my 2 guests, Ken Hildebrand from the Information Nation and Joe Joseph from Freedom Link Radio. Guys, first of all, I want to say thank you both for your service. I appreciate it. I, as a veteran, appreciate what you guys went through. So I'm not saying thank you for serving the New World Order. We all know that we were duped, but I'm saying thank you for what you sacrificed and for following your oath to the Constitution. And I appreciate what you guys do now because you're still following your oath. So thank you.
Same to you, man, for sure, because I don't know what Orion would be without you 2 guys. I'll tell you what. Probably nothing. Just a shell of what it is now. The greatness that it is now.
Well, hopefully we can get the
greatness to spread, and more people will see the message.
Here it comes.
Well, no, not our greatness. I just mean like the networks, like the website.
No, but it's a sad day. It's a day for me to I kind of reflect on what it is I did, and you know what they say is as you get older, the bad memories. They say the bad memories go away and you keep the good ones. That's the biggest bunch of bunk I've ever heard in my life. I still remember how hard it was, and I'll tell you what, I wouldn't trade the experience for anything in the world. But at the same time, I realized that what I did wasn't really a service to my country or the people per se. I was duped into fighting a war of the elitists and advancing their agenda. So in that sense, this day kind of pisses me off. But in another sense, it's kind of a coming together of people like you and Ken and talking about the issues, and hopefully people can see exactly what's important, and maybe try to make a change and do something to save our country. Because right now it's going to hell in a handbasket, and it's a disgrace not only to veterans that live today or that are serving today, but to all those that died to make sure that we have what is still probably one of the freest countries in the world.
We're losing our freedoms very fast. Ken, what about you?
Yes.
How do you feel about all this stuff as a veteran? How do you feel about all this? Really quick.
And then there was a break.
10 seconds before we go into break.
I'll tell you after the break. It's going to take a bit.
That's what I love about Ken.
That
Just straight truth. I'm going to need more time. He's like our Jesse. Ken's our Jesse Ventura. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Ken, my crusty old salty Marine friend. Semper Fi, brother.
Hey, I wish veterans a happy Veterans Day. To the normal people out there, the civilians, I just tell them I was just doing my job, because that's all it was. It was a job.
What do you think about all this BS that's going on?
Hey, I'll tell you, man, that shows total disrespect for guys who went over there, did their job, and now they take them, they burn them and dump them in a dump. They take and cut one guy's arms off to get him in a uniform. What kind of a casket did you have there, for crying out loud? This shows total disrespect. When a government shows total disrespect for their military, the government is on the downslide. They're not doing anybody any favors. These guys are going out there. We have a volunteer military right now. It's not like when I was growing up, there was the draft. Now, I enlisted for 4, but there were a lot of people who got drafted. Then once they got rid of the draft, though, you're talking volunteers here. You're talking young guys that are going in because they want to serve their country. And to treat these guys the way they are, one of these days you're not going to have any volunteers left. They want to take away their pensions. They're covering them up to get them into a casket. They're burning the bodies and giving some BS line to their families. What's wrong with these people? The one thing they better understand is the military could take over this country without a problem. I mean, they've got the firepower. How are you going to stop them? What are you going to? You're going to throw little cliches at them? Oh, they're AstroTurf? This is not the Tea Party you're dealing with. This is the military. That general from the Air Force that was on TV with his political BS, they make me sick. The whole lot of them just make me sick. They don't. I'm not mad at the people that never served, and I'll tell you why. Because you had a choice. You had a choice to serve. You had a choice not to serve. You went and did your thing. That's fine with me. I chose to go in. You chose not to. That's fine. But when people treat the military the way they do, and they have no concept of what the military goes through, what the grunt on the ground or the pilot in the air, their wives, their children, their mothers, their fathers, their grandfathers who sit at home and worry day in and day out because they haven't heard from him in a week and a half. Is he still alive? That's something that the civilians should think about. They got a taste of that on 9/11, when a lot of people went to work and didn't come home that day. That's the same result that you get whether you're doing a 13-month tour or you're on your second or third tour. That's what your family is worried about. Is he
it's that
home?
same feeling. It's that, is he okay? And it's not easy to carry on with your normal life.
There's a lot of anxiety.
Carry that feeling on for 13
months. Yeah, for like a year or longer.
Yeah, these people expected to see their loved ones back home on 9/11.
Or the tour gets extended. How about when the tour gets extended? You guys know that, or you're on a patrol. Like if you're in a seagoing service, Joe knows this. You'll be out of patrol. You'll be on patrol, and you'll be out for like 4 months, and you'll be like 4 or 5 months, and you're like, all right, cool. Coming up, we only got 3 weeks left. And like a week before you're ready, you're on your way back up, and all of a sudden, an emergency! Something happens. You get pulled off.
Yeah, we have to.
Yeah,
we have to go down to Africa and everything. Yeah, okay, that's
stop pirates or some crap, and that's it. Boof, you're off for another 2 or 3 months out in the middle of nowhere.
Here's a funny story, because you talk about that separation and the anxiety that the loved ones and even the active duty guy that's overseas or deployed, what they feel because of their loved ones are at home having to deal with life without them. So I mean, what was bad was I was deployed to Iraq, and Saving Private Ryan came out, and my mother and father went to that. Man, they were not right for the rest of the deployment after that. They were not right. My mother called me, or when I called home, man, she was in tears, saying she'd never seen anything like that before. Holy crap. So, I mean, it was pretty bad, that you don't realize just how much, or people who have no experience with that type of lifestyle just don't know the type of anxiety and pain that go along with the sacrifice of serving your country, And
the thing is, when you're in a combat zone and you're getting shot at day in and day out, and in my case, flying resupplies, medevacs, insertions, extractions, all of that stuff, you don't think about what can happen to you. That's the part that's really scary, because you go out and you do your thing day in and day out, and it becomes a job, and you're just doing your thing every day, and you don't think about the danger involved until you're sitting back and you're having a cold beer one night, and they walk in and say, "Hey man, did you hear about Joe? He didn't make it today." And the realization hits you. But guess what? Tomorrow morning you get back up, you say, "Thanks, Joe." Boom, and you're right back out there doing the same thing, and you're not thinking about your safety again. You're thinking about everybody else, especially when you're doing medevacs. I mean, you go and do medevacs, and you start pulling people out of a meat grinder, and that's what they look. Some of them look like when you pull them into the helicopter. They look like you've been through a meat grinder, and it affects
a lot of them
you.
were for meat grinders. They got hit with bouncing betties and things like that. Man, it blew their legs off, blew their stomachs wide open, took their legs apart.
Oh yeah,
and it's the same thing now. These Marines and soldiers coming back from Iraq, Ken, you know what they're getting hit with now? They're getting hit with AK-47 fire in the legs, and it's just tearing their legs apart. That's why they're losing their legs the way they are. It's the same thing. It's disgusting.
Now picture this. You're in a jungle. You're in a Chinook. You're hovering over the treetop with a jungle penetrator going down. Excuse me. These guys just took fire 5 minutes ago. And you got this big banana in the sky just hanging there. And you're pulling up a guy through the trees. And you've been up there for 10, 15 minutes. And you're not thinking about what can happen to you. You're thinking about getting this guy on board and flying him out to the hospital ship so somebody can possibly save this guy's life. And it kind of goes, you get a numbing effect in your head. It just doesn't bother you. But now on the other side of the coin, let's go halfway around the world. Now you got the news media constantly bashing the people with all the great news coming out of the war and how we were getting our butt kicked. And you got your mother and your father and your sister and your brother and your girlfriend and everybody else is sitting there going, is he still alive? That's what people don't realize. It's harder on the families at home. The guys that are out there doing their job. The other thing you find out, too, is you find out the people that you're fighting, they don't want to fight you any more than you want to fight them.
Of course not. Did you see this disgusting commercial on TV, speaking of people, the family and how it's a burden on them? Did you see this disgusting commercial with Tom Hanks? And it's got this little black kid. He's playing with, I think it's a soccer ball or whatever. And he's like, Jacob just made the team. And then it flashes to the kid's house, and he's like, Jacob also makes food for his little brother because his dad is serving over in Afghanistan. And it's they play the army music in the background, and it's he's serving his country because he's making sure his little brother gets fed and everything. He's doing the stuff that his dad would be doing. And why? Because we're exploiting the shit out of his father and everybody else in the military in Afghanistan. That's right. Be all that you can be. Get a messed up life and an ugly wife in the army. We're going to break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.
were mistreating me. I stumble out my bed and try my best to gain some sense of it. The reasons for the cover-up, the reasons for the censorship. Now I realize that Uncle Sam was not befriending me. He was only using me to be.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. You want to know what Veterans Day should be used for? It should be used to reflect on the truth about things. So, let's discuss the truth. Let's discuss... I don't know.
What is the truth?
Well, yeah, right. Let's discuss the truth about what happens to our men and women after they get injured. Let's not talk about how they get injured. Let's just discuss what happens after they get injured, because it's a pretty uniform thing.
You can speak to that.
Yeah, you get thrown to the side. As soon as you get your golden boy or girl until you get hurt, and then you're cast aside and they replace you with a fresh, young body, able-bodied human being, cattle to them, and then you're treated like crap. And then, of course, the system, you're just processed through the system, and it's ridiculous. The VA is like, people have to understand, the VA, it's like anything else. It's not everybody involved in it is bad. There are some really good people that work there, and there are some really good doctors that work there. The problem is the bureaucracy of the Veterans Administration. And
yeah, it's not the people, it's the system.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, there are certain people that work inside the VA hospitals themselves, or, at VA facilities and stuff that are, they're jerk-offs and they need to be taken out to the woodshed. Okay, but it's not everybody that works there. A lot of people that work there do care about veterans. And I want to make sure that does get out, because the good people, I mean, the VA screws up a lot, and they do a lot of dumb and bad things. But the people that work for them, not everybody is bad, and I don't want them to, I want them to get some, light shed on them that is actually good, because there's always bad light being shed on the VA. And then, of course, if you work for the VA, oh, you work for the VA. Don't get me wrong, the Department of Veterans Affairs is lacking in many ways. But again, it's the bureaucracy.
Sure.
A lot of times these bureaucrats never even served. There's some jagoff civilian that never served, doesn't have any idea what it's like to even be disabled or go through a problem. And things have come a long way, but that's mainly because of Vietnam era guys. And I got to give a big shout out and thanks to them, because if it weren't for them sticking up for us when this crap in Iraq and Afghanistan started, we wouldn't have the benefits we have. We wouldn't. Because they said, we're not going to allow it to happen on our watch, not again. It happened to us, and we're not going to let them do it to you. And I really got to give a big, heartfelt, sincere thank you to all those guys, because it was those guys that helped stand up for us. And then there were veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan that have come back and everything else. And, I wrote letters complaining to Congress. I mean, that doesn't do anything, but I complained for like a year and a half straight to everybody that would listen. I wrote, hundreds of letters because I was just pissed and I needed to vent. This was a couple years ago. I mean, this happens, man. The stuff, the horror stories that people hear about that come out of the VA, they are true. Not everybody in the VA is bad, but yeah, there are some really bad things going on. But
what's happened, Popeye? With every preceding war, World War I, you had so many casualties. World War II, more people survived. The Korean War, even more people
survived. And more people are surviving wounds that, years and years
that
before
normally
you
would have died
lived.
in combat.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right, Ken. You're exactly right.
Surviving, and they've got to be able to handle the influx of people coming in.
They can't, though. That's another thing. You know what happens if they bring back all these troops? Because if they bring back all these troops, they're going to have to scale down the military, obviously. So they would start making layoffs or cutbacks. Now you're going to have all these people going to the VA medical system and going, well, I'm out, so I'm out, I'm done, but I got to get my benefits and stuff. And they know the VA system can't handle it. They know the medical system will crash. I mean, it's and why? Because you have scumbags that work higher up in the upper echelons that give themselves bonuses, $50,000, $60,000 a year, things like that.
The people out there that have never served, this is coming your way. It's called Obamacare.
Oh yeah, I've told people, Ken, when they're like, I want socialized health care, and I'm like, come to the VA with me for a day, and I promise you won't want it. And they're like, well, you get it and you take it. And I'm like, well, I take it because I paid for it with blood, okay? But I don't.
How many of them are willing
if
to
I
sit
paid
there
for it,
4 hours?
let me ask you this:
prescription.
if you had to pay for it, would you put up with the crap you put up with? I know I wouldn't. If I had to pay, if I was paying for this, I'd be like, oh hell no. But I don't pay for it, so I bitch, but I can only bitch to a certain extent. You know what I mean? If I was paying for it, it'd be different. But I mean, I already did pay for it. So did everybody else that's there. You know, they treat you get the problem is you'll get doctors or nurses that are they're trained because of this retarded war on drugs. Oh, if somebody asks for painkillers, they're probably a crack addict, or they're probably a crackhead, and you have to deal with that in the civilian world too. You have idiot doctors and nurses that they think the same way. Oh, well, you asked for painkillers. I got to do a piss test on you now because you could that's a controlled substance, and you could go out and sell them.
Yeah,
I had a doctor tell me once. I had a doctor tell me once, one of my surgeons, right? He gave me painkillers after one of my surgeries, and I mean it was open surgery, right? And he gave me a decent amount, and he was like, if it weren't for the fact that you had surgery, they would probably question as to why I was giving you painkillers. And I was like, well, me personally? And he's like, no. He's like, it's just, he was venting at the time, and he's like, it's just this system, He's like, this is ridiculous.
This is
inside the VA. Can you imagine what it's like to be a civilian, Joe?
Oh, it's freaking got to be brutal, dude. All I can tell you is this is the same system that is trying to disarm vets that are coming back with post-traumatic stress disorder, saying that they can't own a firearm.
Veterans Disarmament Act. Go look it up. It was passed by Congress.
Yeah, this is the same thing. So, I mean, we're still fighting a big battle, folks, and really it's up to all the vets out there to educate people about what's really going on, and it's up to the vets to understand the oath that they took, and that it doesn't end when you get out of the military. As a matter of fact, your responsibilities, I think, go up. Because now you're a teacher. Now you are an educator. You're somebody that's going to be trusted in the community, and you're supposed to be a leader. So, I mean, it's time to step up. This country is just...
Did you hear what the super committee said about cutting veterans the funding to the VA? Because, I mean, the VA gets so much overfunding.
Because it gets so much, right?
Right. And that's sarcasm. But they were talking about making cuts, and these pieces of crap on all the people that in charge of the Veterans Affairs, oversight or whatever the hell it's called in Congress. I don't remember the exact technical name. I'll just Congress douchebags. How about that? And they all got together and they said, yeah, we're okay with cuts being made to the VA. Veterans. I don't have access to the original article right now in front of me, so I'm not, it's not going to be, word for word quote here, but it was to the effect of, and this is pretty close. Veterans have made sacrifices before, and we know what it's like to make sacrifices. So we should be the ones to lead the nation and teach them about making sacrifices, i.e., austerity. And when I read this, now it's a bigger quote, but when I read exactly what they said, I had to get up from my computer and walk away. Seriously, because I almost put my fist through my monitor, dude.
Yeah, man.
I lost it. Like, I have this, I just have this burning fire inside me to go up there and put my boot in someone's ass. Really.
No, I would much rather that they join us in our medical care. Get rid of
that's a good point. And take away their golden packages that they got. That's an excellent point.
Just come and join us for a year. 1 year. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking you to do for your entire life. Just join us for 1 year. Hook yourself up with a disabled vet. And every time he has to go to the hospital, you go with him. Every time he has to go for surgery, you go with him. Every time he has to see a doctor, you go with him. I'll tell you how good their health care is. You come down with the flu, you might get to see a doctor in 3 weeks. That's how good the health care is. Because they are so backlogged. And now Congress wants to cut. They want to get rid of the pensions. They want to get rid of the health care. Personally, what they want to do is very plainly, oh, you came back, give us that fun little uniform. Here's your civilian clothes. Here's a kick in the ass. Get out of here. That's what they want.
They don't want to do anything.
All they want to do is they want to take away from the people.
Of course. And they're going to do it to the people on Social Security, too.
Oh, they've already...
they've already seized some 401... they've already taken some 401k stuff, but they'll do it. They'll do more.
I'll tell you.
And the idiots will just keep falling in line, and then they'll ask where the buses are to the FEMA camps. We're going to break, guys. We're back in a few minutes. Stay tuned. You have no idea the hoops you have to jump through to get health care in the VA medical system as a veteran in this country. And I know there are people that have tried to get health care fraudulently, pretending to be veterans. And I agree there should be a, perhaps, maybe filtering process like they do. Sign up, you have to bring your DD-214, but I don't know how to put into words that I can say on radio how I feel about the process, other than that it's like two monkeys effing a football. I mean, really, that's what it's like. It's like two monkeys effing a football. This is a lot improved over it was when I first went through. And I can tell you that the stuff that you learn about the VA medical system, you will only learn from other veterans. Or, once in a while, you find maybe a good VA counselor, as they're called. Okay? Your VA counselor. They always make you feel like you're in the friggin' nut house there. And, of course, they have the VA police. VA hospitals have their own police force. And if you guys want to talk about a bite in the ass, how about when a vet is having a PTSD, flashback or whatever experience, whatever the hell you want to call them, and these guys, or maybe the guy's just angry about something, they'll come over and they like, sir, is there a problem? And they muscle up on you, 3 or 4 of them. I've seen them. Luckily they fired one guy because he tased a veteran because the guy wanted to leave and they didn't want him to leave. And he tased the guy like right in the chest or whatever, and the doctor freaked out on him because I think the guy had heart problems or whatever. But
yeah, that'll work real well. All I can tell you is, Poppy, I used to be crazy, but I'm all right now.
Well, right. But I mean, how effed up is that you're in a hospital and you get tased? Okay, and the appointment thing, dude, don't even get me started because, like, my primary care is supposed to have 2,000 patients, and he's got, like, over 4,600, I think it was, at last count. And, like, one time I needed to see him, right? Because I needed to get a referral to a specialist. Yeah. Because I had already seen the specialist, I had surgery, they discharged me. You know how after you've been discharged from the clinic, you have to go back through the whole thing again to go see him again. So it was like 4 or 5 months later, I was having problems. I needed to get a brace, and he was the only doctor that could get me the brace. He had to prescribe it. He had to order it for me. So I had to see the specialist. He was the guy that repaired my ankle and rebuilt my ankle. So long story short, it took me almost a year after I initially started having the problem before I got to see him. Like, people ask me how long it took me to get my benefits. I tell them it took me about 5 years, a little over 5 years. Well, actually, it took me longer than 5 years. But it took about 5 years of fighting. But I didn't go after everything right away. I had kind of gotten discouraged when I got out and everything else. But after I really started fighting, like, I had correspondence with them, but once I actually started putting, my nose to the grindstone, it was 5 years of fighting the VA before I got my benefits. 5 years of me hardcore going after them. It took. And a lot of it was this crap where they were like, well, we need evidence. And I'm like, well, okay, I'll get the evidence. And they're like, we want you to include your latest doctor's appointment, about this, because you said you were going to go see the doctor. And I'm like, okay. And then I would go, and the doctor, they would have changed my appointment because the doctor went on vacation or called out sick or something happened or had a family emergency. So then when you're like, all right, well, I need the soonest available appointment, ASAP, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And the nearest appointment that's available is, like 4 or 5 months down the road. And technically, they tell you that if it's more than 3 months, they can't help you. I love that. Well, if it's more than 3 months, we can't help you. We'll just mail you a time. And I'm like, well, what happens if you guys make me an appointment? I don't want it at that time. Like, morning appointments for me are no good because of where I live. There's so much traffic. I would have to leave like 4 hours before my appointment to be able to get there on time. It's just ridiculous. So
I'm going through the same thing, Popeye. I just finally. Here's a neat one. I was in the hospital for erratic heartbeat. Saw the cardiologist. Left there, went and saw the doctor over at the clinic. Had to make an appointment to go back to see the cardiologist so I could get the proper medication. Now, I've been dealing with this for 6 months because I went there and they said, well, you can't just walk in and see him. You got to make an appointment. I said, okay, let me make an appointment. Well, is this an appointment to be checked out or is this a consultation? I said, it's a consultation. That's all it is. I need him to write me a prescription. Oh, well, you've got to do that through your clinic. Great. So I drive all the way back to my clinic. I go and talk to the people there. Oh, no, you've already seen them. All you have to do is go and make an appointment for a consultation. I said, I was just there. I just talked to them. I said, they told me it has to be done through the clinic. No, we don't do that. So I go all the way back to the hospital. Finally, I got on the phone. I got tired of driving back and forth. I got on the phone and I said, look, either you're going to make me the appointment or you're not. Well, we can't do that. So the last time I went in there, I got in an argument with the pharmacist at the clinic. And I told him, I says, if you can't prescribe this medication for me, then you get me a consultation with a cardiologist. Oh, okay. So they called the hospital. They set up the consultation for another 4 weeks. So I get to finally go next week. And as far as going to see an endocrinologist, I've been trying for 1.5 years and I haven't gotten a consultation with them yet. So that's what you're looking at with your government health care. Now, the VA, I don't blame these people because my wife and I went down there one time just to pick up medication because I'd run out. And we sat for 4 hours because there were so many people there picking up medication. The place was jammed. It looked like there was a rock concert going on. But these were just guys going, and these pharmacists were working their tail off. They're understaffed. They're underfunded.
Well, like our hospital, the Miami VA, things break down all the time. Their computer system in the pharmacy goes down at least once a week. And like when I tell you that's bad, I don't know how many of the other hospitals are, but at the Miami VA, you can't go, and I know this is what they did with a lot of VAs. You can't go to the counter anymore, and like if you need a refill on your medication, you can't just bring your meds in.
No. And
go to the counter and be like, I need to get refilled. Okay, come back in an hour. And we'll see you in whatever. Okay. No, not like that anymore. Now you have to refill it either via the phone or via the internet. And if you do that, they mail them to you.
Yep. I have to admit though, I get a lot of my meds through the mail, and they're pretty up.
That's a bigger problem. What happens when they close the mail because they want to close the post office for Saturday delivery?
Well, it doesn't.
And everybody's like, well, who cares? Nobody uses the post office. That's a lie.
Well, not so much that, but I mean, you could leave it up to private business and say, oh, look, now FedEx or somebody else can go and, take over or compete for that business that was there. You can't compete
for that. The problem with FedEx and all them is this is another thing and it goes to disabled people and older people. They use the post office as a means of communication and picking up their medicine and everything else, and like that's their going out for the day is when they go to the post office.
I thought it was Walmart.
And in a lot of rural communities, there is nothing but the post office, and now they're closing all these post offices and everything else. So that makes it harder for old people to get their medications, and their money via mail and everything else. It's just, I don't understand why you can't go into the VA hospital or go into a clinic or whatever and get your effing medication that they prescribe you. Okay? And all the prescriptions for the VA, for all the hospitals, when you call into that number, if you get your stuff over the internet or via that number, okay, all of those prescriptions come from the same place. It's one central building. One that covers the whole country. So what happens if they have a fire or a problem? Now all the veterans in the country are going to get their medication.
Well, I will tell you.
You see how they're centralizing control of everything because they know all these veterans are pissed off, and a lot of these guys are dependent on their medications for survival.
I'll tell you one thing. When I did have a problem and I went to the VA, the one thing that they did do, I went to the clinic, and they said, "Well, have you got enough of this?" I said, "No, I've only got enough for the rest of the day." They said, "Not a problem." They wrote me a prescription, told me to go over to Osco, and I picked it up right at Osco. I gave it to them, and of course, Osco wanted to give me a ration. And I just turned around and told the woman behind the counter, I said, "Look, this comes directly from the VA. You people got a contract with them. Fill the damn thing." "Oh, okay." And she filled it.
Yeah, but see, that's because you have a good doctor. That's what I meant before when I said not everybody in the system is bad. There are bad people, but there's a lot of good people in there that don't get the credit they deserve. Because, I mean, like my primary care, this guy rocks. And he's wide awake. He knows all about the New World Order. When I go in there, I spend about half my appointment with him talking about the New World Order. I always give him...
the reason I can't get in to see anybody. I was wondering.
Yeah, because just they're BSing with the doc.
You know, I use the wait times to my advantage. I bring movies and truth material and stuff with me to the VA, and I carry it and I give it out. So... I use their wait times and everything against them. I'm waking up a lot of the older guys. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to the top of the hour break. We'll be back in a few minutes. It's hour number 2. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is hour number 2. For people that don't speak Spanish, that's 2. Not that I speak fluent Spanish. Trust me, I don't speak fluent Spanish at all. I actually understand it much better than I speak it, which freaks my wife out.
English.
Well, it freaks my wife out because my wife speaks Spanish, and that's actually who I learned most of my Spanish from. Like I would say, like 80%, and it freaks her out because she'll be talking to her mother in Spanish. And I'll make comments here or there as I'm walking around, and she looks at me and she's like, "How the hell did you know what I was talking about?"
and you're in Miami. I mean, you should be fluent as hell by now.
Well, I'm not good at really speaking it, but like I understand it. So like when people talk, like I can have a conversation with somebody. I've learned how to conversate real well. But yeah, Miami's a whole different world, man. Oh. It's not part of the United States. It's a whole different world. I'm tired of just living in the city. I want to get back out to where at nighttime you can hear crickets and nothing else. I'm tired of hearing people honking their horns and playing their radios and all that crap. Ugh.
Yuck.
So tired of that.
I so don't miss that, and I never would go back to it again.
Well, believe me, I'll be getting out of it as soon as I possibly can. You and I have already had this conversation.
Yes.
Oi, oi! My Jewishness is coming out. Oi!
Yeah, I heard it. Oi, oi, vey.
Done with it. Yeah, seriously. Anyway, getting back to Veterans Day, I just don't like. I guess what I was talking about my opening rant there of the show was, I don't like. I really have a big problem with politicians or anybody like using Veterans Day to like wrap themselves in it and be like, "Oh, we love veterans. Oh, we'll give you a 10% discount for the day." Take your 10% discount, and you know what? Stuff it. Making vets run around trying to figure out which places give away veterans benefit, discounts and everything else. How about always give out a veterans discount? How about that? Not one day, 365. I don't care if you don't believe in the wars. I don't believe in them either. Most of these guys don't believe in them. A lot of people, after they signed up, they realized they were duped, but it was like, too late. You signed the contract. People will just go AWOL. Oh, okay, tough guy, you go. You do it.
Yeah, it's not that easy.
AWOL. Exactly. It's really easy to be a friggin' armchair quarterback. And there are a lot of war resistors. There's thousands of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're dying for help. I suggest you go look them up. IVAW. Iraq Veterans Against the War. IVAW. I'm a proud member of that organization. I'm tired of these politicians. Ooh, the politicized Veterans Day. I'm telling you, I just want to go up to Washington and lay some boot to ass.
You know, or when they're fighting a war, and you know, Congress may get sketchy on the funding and say, you know, I don't know if we're going to fund this anymore. And then the first thing that the neocons will do is say, you're going to leave the troops hanging like that? As if defunding is going to, like, they're just going to, oh, well, you know what? We got 50,000 troops over there. Fuck them. We'll just leave them there. See you later. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. I mean, come on. Well, so, I mean, they politicize the crap out of this stuff.
They left troops over in World War II.
Yeah, I know. But
they left them in Vietnam, too.
Oh, I know. And after Clinton signed an agreement with Vietnam to give them, like, favored nation status or whatever back in the late 90s, they executed the rest of the POWs that were still over there. I know all about it.
Hey, but we're so much more civilized now. We're so much more civilized, aren't we?
Well, you know what we did after the end of World War II? We gave over 20,000 U.S. POWs to the Russians as slave labor. Eisenhower knew all about it. So did Truman. They didn't want to get Joe Stalin angry.
Hey, at least they got the guy responsible for all of this stuff to greet the troops. You see Bernanke greeting the troops.
Dude, I would have loved to see somebody get up out of that crowd and just grab him and yoke him up and
could you imagine?
Well, at least who they're fighting for greeted them, you know. It's not like you got some politician or something else. You actually had the guy, one of the guys that they're actually fighting for, went over there and greeted him. And did you ever wonder why?
The press conference, Ken, but he was giving him like a lesson on economics or whatever. Right, because that's the guy that should be teaching you economics.
Yeah, well, they're scared to death of the military.
Why do you think he's over there kissing their butts? When was the last time a Treasury
Because he couldn't find a young boy to do it, too.
It's the last time a Treasury Secretary went over and talked to the United States military. I thought that was so out of place. I was like, I'm glad you actually brought that up. Because I was like, what the hell is going on with this? And then I didn't see the whole thing. I skipped through like the first 30.
He's not the Treasury Secretary. He's the head of the Fed.
Oh, no, excuse me. I'm not. Exactly. I'm sorry. I thank you for correcting me, Ken. Not the Treasury Secretary. The head of the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, he's not even a member of the. He's not even a public servant.
No, I know. He's the head of the Federal Reserve. That's what I meant. I didn't mean Treasury Secretary. So
well, we just got to get that all cleared.
I know. You scratch that from the logbook. You know, or as in article terms, belay that. Okay. I meant the head of the Fed. But again, when was the last time you saw the head of the Federal Reserve going and sitting down with the troops and saying, "Look, blah 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 blah"? You don't. You know why they're doing that? Because they're afraid the troops are going to skin them alive. That's why. Okay.
Well, so he could stand there and say, I'm not really stealing your money, and the dollar bill has value. Gold has no value, but a dollar bill is a dollar. Yeah. Don't even get me started on that one.
Again, it just like he's in there. First of all, why does he have press conferences? Have you noticed Bernanke's the only one that goes out there and has these little smug press conferences every once in a while? Ugh. And then Timothy Geithner, he's running around.
Tax cheat?
Oh, God, but he's running around. You need to do this. You need to pass the jobs bill. Who are you, Tim? Who the F are you? Okay? Shut your mouth. Shut your effing mouth.
And then what's going to happen? What's going to happen when they do pass the jobs bill? Nothing.
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 Right,
Nothing. And for the people in the chat room that want to know about what I was talking about, the 20,000 POWs going over to the Russians, there was British troops that went as well. Go read Robert Wilcox's book, Target Patent, or go to my archives page on federaljack.com and look up my interview with Robert Wilcox on, I'm trying to think, it was July 31st of 2011. So just go to my archives page and go down to July 31st. It should say 7/31, 2011. Robert Wilcox, the assassination of George Patton, and you'll see what you'll see what I was talking about. And you got to read his book, and then in the book he gives you references for where he got the information and stuff from. But yes, it's disgusting, and they did do that, and they did it in Nam. They left troops in Vietnam. There's still people missing. I mean, what about? Did they ever find that kid Matt Maupin? Did they ever finally find him? I don't know. I know he was a POW. He's the last one I know. There were 3 of them a couple years ago, and they found 2 of them dead. The one was a white kid, and I think the other one was a Latino kid. Both of them are dead. The only other one that was missing was Matt Maupin, and I'm not sure if they found him or not, or if he was dead or not. But there's so many people. I mean, one of the guys, I wore a POW MIA bracelet on my arm for a year and a half until they were able to figure out what happened to the kid and who he was. And then when I found out who he, what happened, I was able to, then you can take it off. That's the thing. So I finally took it off, but I had it on for well over a year and a half. And he was a Marine. He was killed within the first week of going into Iraq. They were going to secure the oil fields, and they were in the back pickup truck, and they mistook him for insurgents. They didn't bother to double check anything, and they dropped a 2,000-pound JDAM on the pickup truck that had him, 4 other Marines in it, and they all got killed. So, nice blue on blue. So you vets know what I'm talking about. Blue on blue. Our country's real good at that.
The enemy. Words have power, but actions speak louder. Pretend to be free till you die a slave, a soldier in the desert searching for a ghost in the cave. For the corporation, I run out of patience, sick of seeing troops sink to die for your lives, spending dollars in debt. We holler in protest till we have your arrest. We will not rest, and we know what you did that day. Kill your own citizens to advance your ways. All my real patriots stand up and say 9/11 was a hit.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Veterans Day, November 11th, 2011. 11, 11, 11. Joe, we're all still here.
I know we're all still here. Isn't that interesting? Yet another one of these funky ass, phony ass
the
dates.
End of the world again.
And here we are. It's like yeah, we're all gonna die again.
Starting to feel like Bin Laden. Every time I turn around, I'm dying.
So many times.
Yeah, this has got to be the 5th or 6th time, 4 more times, and then they'll send a SEAL team after me.
You're a former Marine, Ken. You can handle it.
Not a problem.
That's right.
Actually, I shouldn't say former, because there's no such thing as a former Marine. He's a retired Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine.
That's right. It's amazing. People don't understand the brotherhood that you have with veterans and even active duty personnel. And it doesn't matter whether you're in the Navy or the Army, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard. It doesn't matter.
All family.
Yeah.
We can rag on each other, but there's a difference.
Right, and there's a certain camaraderie. You know what I mean? Just can't.
Exactly.
You don't get that anywhere else.
It's family, dude. And we understand that we have to take care of each other because the government sure as hell won't. Unfortunately, a lot of these young guys coming back and women, they don't even know what they're entitled to because the government, sometimes some people are like, well, I've been to classes. Yeah, sometimes they do have classes, but that stuff's now, or maybe within the past few years, maybe that's new. That's not how it's always been. And they still don't tell you everything.
Hey, Popeye, Dunn in the chat room writes, are Marines or the Army smarter? Well, let me answer this for him. We might not be the smartest animals on the planet, but we'll kill you faster.
That's why I love the Marines. I have a love for the Marine Corps. I do.
I mean, when we get out of boot camp, it's like you said, we're ready to spit bullets and, shoot at people. When they shoot back, we just catch the bullets in our teeth, spit them out, and just go on our way. That's from the brainwashing you get. But
it's you know what, it's when you serve with people and you end up side by side with them. You realize that a lot of that is just stereotypes. I mean, a lot of that stuff is pushed to continue to keep separation even amongst the military.
Look at the one guy. He just got the Congressional Medal of Honor. Shot in both legs, and still went out and dragged people into a foxhole. And I can't remember who the talk show host was. He had him on. He says, "How did you do that, being shot in both legs?" He says, "You don't notice it. The adrenaline is pumping so fast." He says, "You don't notice it. You just do what you have to do to save your friends." And that's what it boils down to. People think that, the military's out there fighting for us. No, we're fighting for each other. We're fighting so my buddy doesn't get killed.
I've said that. Men and women don't fight for, country or freedom or President Bush or President Obama or, Betsy Sue back home or baseball or American Pie or apple pie, whatever the hell you want to call it. Sorry, I was thinking of the movie for a minute. That's not what they're thinking about. They're fighting for their buddy next to them on the left and to the right. I know so many guys that know 9/11's an inside job and everything, but they went back over to Afghanistan or to Iraq and they extended their tour. Or, excuse me, they extended their time in the military and they would, volunteer for extra tours and stuff because they wanted to make sure their friends came home. It's the only reason why they did it.
The one guy that got the Congressional, he lost his hand. They gave him a high-tech hand and he's got a desk job now, but he wants to go back.
You know what? F these people.
Letterman asked him, "Why do you want to go back?" And he says, "Because my friends are over there."
Exactly.
And that's what it boils down to.
F these people giving out these Congressional Medals of Honor, though, right now, because you know what? They had to be chastised before they gave them out.
Sure.
Because there was a big thing saying, look, how we have all these people that they're surviving stuff, and even if they aren't surviving stuff, you have all these amazing things and these amazing instances of heroism trying to save your friends and stuff in battle or whatever, and saving a civilian maybe, whatever, and no one's getting these, they're not getting recognized. So now they're giving them out. So big salute to the people earning them, but a big FU to the bureaucrats that sat in their asses for years and didn't give them out like they should have. You guys are scumbags. I think all the bureaucrats that screw over veterans are pieces of crap, okay? Well, and one day, karma's a bitch, and one day you're going to get yours.
Well, the one guy, the first recipient of the Congressional, he was the first living recipient since the Vietnam War. So that showed he had to do something really important, which he did. I mean, he saved.
Well, of course, but there's they should be honored.
Sure, they should.
And people are like, but they killed civilians, blah blah. No. Okay, not all of them did. That's like when we were on Bob Tuscan's show, we were talking about this. That's throwing a blanket statement out there that, all veterans or anybody that's all military people that have served are scum and baby killers. Well, that's like saying all Arabs are bad or all Jews are bad or all black people are bad. That's stupid and ignorant.
You bring up a good point, though, and I want to harp on this for a second. War. There's a reason why the Founding Fathers made it so difficult to declare war on another country. It's because war sucks, and when you go into it knowing that you have to give it your all, that it's something that's not shouldn't be taken lightly because, quite honestly, we haven't fought a legitimate war since World War II. We had Korea, that was a police action. Vietnam, you can't even call that a war. First of all, war was never declared again. And second of all, the rules of engagement in Vietnam severely tied our boys' backs, hands behind their backs when they were over there. And I mean, ever since then, it's been nothing but police actions or in support of the United Nations, but never have we declared war. And that's the whole reason why the Founding Fathers put that in place, was because war sucks. When you go to war, there are no survivors. You go and you take care of everything. You flatten everything. You seize everything. It's done. Done deal. There's one winner and everybody else loses. Right, now it's just crap.
That's the thing that I don't like, is the fact the politicians get involved in this stuff. To me, if you're going to have a war, you turn it over to your generals. You let your generals handle it. They'll tell you when it's over. Don't say, "Well, I'm the president and we're going to pull out. We're done." I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it from Obama. I don't want to hear it from Bush.
We should be in Afghanistan to begin with. We have no business being there. We've been there longer than the Soviets were there. We have no business being there. We're not accomplishing a goddamn thing. They even admitted like a year ago that there's less than 100 Al-Qaeda fighters there. We're basically fighting the Taliban. Taliban did not attack us at all. We were kissing their butts.
But Afghanistan
minerals. It's got tons and tons of minerals like lithium.
Minerals.
And then Rachel Maddow on MSNBC. Why would anybody want lithium? Yeah, why would anybody want lithium, Rachel? And you're a Rhodes Scholar, huh? Either you're stupid or you're a shill. I'll go for number 2 because she's on the same team with the rest of them. They're all idiots.
I'll go for 1 and 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2. A shill and an idiot. We're going to play. We'll be right back. Still. What lithium for, idiot. You know how we solve the problem of national debt and the VA medical system not having enough money? Solve it all in one fell swoop. We end Iraq, which, by the way, the reason that the troops are coming home, and they're not really coming home, they're just being moved over to Kuwait and like hanging out. They'll probably have them stationed on ships parked in the Persian Gulf. So they're not really coming home, okay? But if we actually brought all of our troops home, all the money that we spent on all that equipment that's being wasted over there, okay, first of all, we'd be able to defend our own borders, and we could stop with this drug war crap on the southern border.
Yeah, and those freaking communist Canadians.
Yeah, that's what we have those UAVs for. Because now we can just take out those commie Canadians like we do the Pakistani people. We'll just drop bombs on them. And we're only kidding. Canada, listen to me. Canada.
Canada.
One guy wants to attack him, and the other one can't pronounce the name of the country.
Right.
Welcome to the Information Nation, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Ken.
See, that's why I love Ken.
Oh, right.
Ken, let me ask you something. Honestly, like, as a Marine, does it disgust you to, as a vet, does it, being somebody that went and, you've had bullets fly and you've been shot at, doesn't it disgust you to see what's going on, like how the veterans of this country are treated? And not just, by the VA medical system, but I mean by the government itself, with how they wrap themselves around you. And Veterans Day is so disgusting to me because all these wannabe politicians come out and I love veterans. We tie a ribbon around the old oak tree. No, don't. You know what? Here's how you stop it. Don't send your freaking kids to war. That's what I tell people all the time. They ask me, they'll come up to me, and people that know me or whatever, if they're listening to me, talk. I've been on Bob Tuskin's show. Girl called in. I gave her the same advice. I've had people ask me on my show, and I'll tell them the same thing. They say, "Should I join the military?" Or my son or somebody I know wants to join the military, and I tell them, "Don't." I'm like, well, how do I tell them not to? How do I tell them, And I tell them, just tell them to Google like Walter Reed Army Hospital, / veterans. Or mistreatment of vets or veterans issues. It's disgusting. I don't want to see any more people go through this.
Let me ask you a question. Why have we got bases in Germany, France, all over Europe? We've got over 600 bases around the world. Why?
Because we liberated them from during World War II, don't you know?
Yeah, but why? It's not like they're being threatened. It's not like and it's not like we can't turn around and put troops anywhere in the world in less than 24 hours. So why do we still have these bases?
But Ken, come on, we need them. Don't you know we need them?
Yeah, there's a shot for that.
Well, there will be soon. Don't worry about it. You have an attitude problem with how your government's spending the money. We have a vaccine.
I've got an attitude problem, but it's such a small one.
Don't take any vaccines either. I can tell you from personal experience. I ended up with here's a little personal thing. I ended up with Bell's palsy for almost 2 months because of vaccines. I had the right side of my face paralyzed. And at first, the people where it happened at the medical center didn't, on the base didn't want to admit it. But other people later on, admitted it. And even doctors in the VA hospital admitted it to me, years later that, yeah, without a doubt. Plus the civilians told me. Because everybody knows when you go in, they line you up like, cattle. Ken, I don't know how it was when you went in, but when I know Joe had the same experience I did. When you go into boot camp, they had, the whole company's there. There's 120 of you. You're all lined up, nuts to butts, and you're sitting there, and you got like 4 or 5 corpsmen, and they all have the pneumatic needles with the 18-ounce vial of evil crap from Monsanto, whatever the hell they have it in, yellow fever.
Yeah, you walk in one door weighing 150, and you walk out the other door weighing 225.
Yeah, exactly.
They inject you with so much crap.
Yeah, dude, did you see what happened to that one Marine? I got to find a video. This young Marine, this kid was like, he was jacked. He was like a little, Hulk. And he was just like physically, he was the for physical wise and body type, he was like the atypical perfect Marine, perfect specimen. And this kid was a really, he was outgoing, good personality. He was from what his superior said, great Marine. Then they got these mystery injections. And I don't remember if it was before they went to Iraq or if they were over there or whatever, but within I don't know, I want to say 18 to 24 hours of getting the shot. Maybe we'll say 48 hours. He was all blown up and swollen. He couldn't see, and now the kid's permanently disabled. Completely 100%, 180 from what he was. Just the opposite end of the spectrum. He could barely walk. And, they're look what they did with the Gulf War vets, Gulf War I, the anthrax vaccine. All these men and women coming back.
Oh,
not to mention blowing up Al
the Gulf War illness.
How about all the crap they blew up Al Camisea, all that shit that went out into the air and everybody's breathing all of it. No, we weren't sure. Schwarzkopf lied on TV, that piece of crap. He's another traitorous bastard. Okay? He sat there and, we couldn't tell how the Iraqis marked their chemical munitions. And all these troops were like, that's a lie because we sold them it. We knew how it was marked because it was our stuff. That's where the term Agent Orange comes from. They also had Agent Purple, Agent Yellow. It was just the color came from the barrel that it sat in. They were orange barrels. So this defoliant is orange. This one is green. This one is purple. This one's in a yellow barrel. So that's how it was Agent Orange, Agent Purple, Agent Yellow, whatever. There's a bunch of them. The catchphrase is Agent Orange, and that's what everybody knows, but they don't know about all the other stuff that those guys were exposed to. Okay? Ken knows firsthand. He was exposed to that crap. He's got resulting problems because of it. Him and I have talked off air about it. One of my father's friends, he's had cancer 3 or 4 times. They removed huge tumors from him, and they kept denying him for Agent Orange. And finally, they admitted, and this is within the past year and a half, they admitted that Agent Orange from Nam caused cancer. It was 30 years ago, at least.
It took them, so they just recently in June or July of last year approved systemic heart disease as a after effect of Agent Orange. And what has that been now? 40 years? 35, 40 years I've been out of the service. Isn't that nice of them? I really appreciate it after having 3 heart procedures and a heart attack, and I'm still fighting to get my disability with them. And I haven't been going at it as long as you did. I've just been hammering them.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting that they make you fight for it like that, and they know this stuff causes cancer, dude. And look what going back to the Gulf War guys, Joe, Gulf War I and all that, and the Kosovo era and all that. Look what they did to you guys. They were using you guys lab rats. They were pumping you guys full of all sorts of crap.
Yeah, I was one of the initial people to get the anthrax vaccine for that first time, and it screwed my memory up. I mean, I have horrible short-term memory now, and I can remember it back to that series of shots because I used to have an ironclad memory that I never had to write anything down, and then after that, from that point on, I did. And then what's interesting about Agent Orange is it just doesn't affect the person that got sprayed. It affects their offspring, and my sister-in-law is sterile. And she's in her 20s, and it's because her father was exposed to Agent Orange.
Oh, sterility wasn't the only thing with that. That came, you had spina bifida.
Gulf War I, too.
There were so many diseases that were passed on to offspring, and they ignored them. They finally came out and said, okay, yeah, if you're
it's happening now, though. Look at Fallujah. For all the vets in the audience, I know there's a bunch of you guys out there. Adolf Bernanke, he's one of the listeners. That's the name he goes by in the chat room. He survived the Battle of Fallujah. Adolf, glad you survived it, buddy. Thanks for listening. You can ask him. They know. They used the DU out there. Now all these guys coming back, they get their wives pregnant and their kid comes out all deformed because they were exposed to DU, and now because it went through the seminal fluid, the DU contamination is carried through that, and now the woman is contaminated, and she's going to have problems, and then the baby's going to have problems. Look at the kids of the Iraqi people. The men and women in Fallujah don't even want to have children anymore because they don't know if it's going to come out normal. They don't ask if it's a boy or a girl. They just ask if it's normal. What the F have we done? We're back, ladies and gentlemen, with the final segment of the Veterans Day 2011 episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. And today we're doing, I guess you could say, the veterans, or I should say not the veterans as a whole, a service by talking about what really goes on and just having some truthful conversation about what really goes on. Because, the government loves to portray the glory, the glorious, or romantic side of war. Being they try to romanticize it, make it look glorified and sexy, and it's cool and it's trendy, and they don't tell you about sitting in the VA for 8 hours waiting for your medications, or getting in arguments with the system and some bureaucrat, and how it's your life is in some little douchebag bureaucrat's hands. It's amazing what they don't tell you. And as a veteran, I can honestly tell you, if I probably would have believed it, because I understand the government sucks. I'm a pretty smart individual when it comes to that aspect, but if I was a regular civilian, I probably wouldn't believe me if I came up to, if I was two people, we'll say, and I was one was a civilian and one was myself, and I came up to the civilian and said, oh, blah blah blah, and I told them everything was going on. I wouldn't believe myself unless I lived it, because the stuff I've seen is just so crazy. And I know Ken and Joe have both been through the VA medical system, so they understand what I'm talking about. I mean, some of these hospitals have gotten in trouble because they didn't have enough room for operating rooms, and they were literally operating on people in closets and stuff that had mold growing in the corners of the, on the floor. It's disgusting. I mean, our veterans deserve much better than this, and it really pisses me off that nobody says anything, and that's why I dedicated today's show to this, because somebody had to. Somebody had to stand up and give these guys a voice, because nobody else. There are people that are standing up, but nobody else really is giving them a voice. The mainstream media certainly won't accept it on Veterans Day when they come out with all these reports. The government treats veterans like crap, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, all the day before and the day of Veterans Day, right? And then the day after, it's forgotten in the news cycle and move on until next year. So F you mainstream media, too. F you bureaucrats. F you all the politicians that never fought, never even served in any type of public service at all, okay? And then you send people to go die for your bullshit. F all of you, okay? You all suck and you're all evil. F Dick. Go on.
People want a taste, and I'm not promoting the man, which is John McCain wrote a book, and he talks about his time at the Hanoi Hilton. And if you want a general idea of what the POWs went through, it's kind of an eye-opening book. And there's another one out there called The Tunnels of Chu Chi, which is all the tunnels that were dug. It's why the French got their butts kicked in Vietnam, and one of the reasons that we had such a hard time. But I want people to understand, we are in no way ripping on veterans, and we're not ripping on non-veterans. What we're ripping on is a system that's broke, and politicians who don't understand it. The veterans, if you've been there, you know what we're talking about. If you haven't been there, you're getting a taste of what we go through. It's not a matter of we're veterans, but we don't like veterans. It's exactly the other way around. The veterans stick together. The veterans do stick together.
I agree, except I got to tell you one thing. I wouldn't trust anything John McCain says. I think John McCain's a piece of crap. Okay? He's responsible for actually causing other POWs harm. You should go check out.
He mentions it in his book.
And I don't want to hear it was a weak moment or nothing. And he's a warmongering piece of crap. I just don't like him. I have a personal disdain for him.
I think John McCain, they took his brain out and washed it for him and put it back in. I often wonder if they ever did anything and tried to play with him and make him like a I think they did.
A sleeper agent or something. I mean, who knows? But he's definitely shot in the head. I have no love for him, Lindsey Graham, or Joe Lieberman. They're all three musketeers of war. Screw all three of them.
The good thing about the book, he does talk about his father and his grandfather, both who were in the Navy, both who were
His father's a piece of trash, too. His father's responsible for sending the USS Liberty to go get hit off of Israel and then for help covering it up. Don't even get me started. I know all about the McCain family. They are F them. They're part of the problem. Yeah, I know you probably don't know about that, but yeah, McCain's father is an evil piece of crap.
He's got some good stuff in there about the Hanoi Hilton.
Oh, no. I'm not discounting what you're saying. I'm just saying my personal thing from McCain is I think he's a turd bucket. I have no love for
John McCain, believe me.
I think John McCain's a turd.
The last election. You know what, the last election, and you're seeing it in this election too. Remember when, what's his name, the guy with the hand ran for president? It was kind of like, it's his turn, let him run, he's going to get beat. And then John McCain stepped up, and it was kind of like, well, it's his turn. Let him go out there, let him get beat.
Oh, Bob Dole, I think it was, right?
Bob Dole. Thank you, Joe. Yeah. So this whole game is rigged all the way around.
I'm not going to talk. I can't. Bob Dole I know he was part of the New World Order, but I got to give Bob Dole credit because he did have like half his. He like put his stomach back in by himself back in World War II. He had a big old, As a vet, I got to say that the man physically went through a lot. His politics and who his masters he served, I think he was an idiot.
The whole point is, though, we're seeing a system now where they're throwing up. It's boiled down to the lesser of two evils, and it has for probably the last 20 years. Where we have two people up there running, and you look at them and go, I wouldn't throw up on either one of them. But back to the veterans. The heck with them people. That's for another time. Well, the veterans have put up with a lot, and their children are going to put up with a lot, and their grandchildren are going to put up with a lot. And for this group of 12 to come out and say, well, we'll just cut veterans' benefits and that. I think they ought to take those 12 out, put them against the wall, and shoot them. I have no love for these people whatsoever.
Well, like I said, I don't remember the exact words, but it was, I know the line, the one line that I did recite was pretty much their message. I probably left out a few words, if not anything. But it was something like veterans have shown us sacrifice before, so they should be the ones to lead the way and show sacrifice again. And it's like, you, why don't you show sacrifice and give up your $250,000 a year job? And some of them don't make that. Some of them make $100,000 or $150,000. I don't care. How about you all make, let's say, like $55,000 a year, and you don't get a cushy benefits package. You have to pay. You get the crappy benefits packages that everybody else gets. Again,
let's start with Social Security. Let's start by putting them in Social Security. Get rid of your benefit package. You no longer get that. Oh, if you want something more, then get a 401k or an IRA. Let's start with that. But you don't get your retirement package, serve one term, and walk away with your pay for the rest of your life. No, that doesn't float my boat. Get rid of your benefits.
Look at Ron Paul. Ron Paul's one of the only ones that said, I don't want that crap.
I'll tell you another one.
I served and that's it, and that I only want to get paid while I'm here, and then that's it. I got to give the man credit. I mean, he might not be perfect. People always, well, what about this? What about that? You know what? Nobody's perfect, but I'll give him credit because he sticks by his values, and he's the only politician I know that was like, no, I don't want that crap.
Right, and has been consistent the whole time. He's consistent right down the board. You don't have to worry about it. He's not going to be like an Obama that says, I'm not going to put a single lobbyist in my cabinet, and then goes and stacks it full of lobbyists.
Well, he told the truth. He didn't put a single one in there. He put a whole bunch of them in there.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Point. He didn't put a single lobbyist in. He put about 30 or 40 of them in.
I never thought of it that way. The bastard did tell the truth.
If he had said to you, I won't put lobbyists, and then just left it open. It's all about the words, Joseph. It's all about the words. You know that, my friend. Come on.
It is crap. It is crap. I don't like it.
It's BS. Guys, we're almost out of time. Ken, before I forget, I want the listeners to kind of get a chance to, figure out where you guys are for your radio shows and your websites and stuff. We got about a minute and a half. So, Ken, give out your radio show and your website really quick, and then Joe, go ahead and give yours out.
All right. We're at the Information Nation. It's Sunday nights, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock for you people on the left coast. Yeah, we have similar show to what you're hearing here, a lot of stuff. And informationnation.com, theinformationnation.com. You can also check out my YouTube channel, which is just Ken H364. Go ahead, Joe.
Cool. Now, the next show, Freedom Link Radio, is on Sunday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. And I'm starting a new website right now. It's called thefreedomlinkradio.yolasite.com.
Thanks for coming on, boys. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening.
Thanks
I
for
will
having
be back on Sunday before Joe's show, 5 to